The government shutdown continues because they don't have enough money for teachers and train stations.
The Schumer Shutdown continues. Welcome aboard. Well, how you doing, Jeremy?
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, we took a little time off. I was sick.
And I was working my ass off.
And so, yeah, we haven't had a chance to really get together. It's our first time in about a week. But we're on what day is it of this shutdown? 38 days. I think it's the longest shutdown.
It is officially the longest shutdown. I do remember reading that this morning.
So let's bring up some things. First off, who do you blame for this shutdown?
Government.
Okay, all right. The whole can you kind of be a little more specific here?
You know, I blame both sides. I think both sides. To be fair, let's face it. The Republicans, the conservatives, however you want to say it today, the red side, they are all the group who is trying to balance the budget. I always say, unless you've made payroll, you really shouldn't be in any position of power. And then you have the liberals or the blue side, or however you want to say it today. They don't care about balancing the budget. They care about just appeasing the people that they promised money to. And you can't have those two coexist. And so, of course, we have, 38 days of shutdown because both of them want something completely different.
Well, see, I have a different take. For this shutdown, I completely blame the Democrats, and I'm going to tell you why. Under Joe Biden, the Republicans did 13 CRs, continuing resolutions, just keep the money going. They did it 13 times. And now the Democrats, they started out demanding $1.7 billion of extra spending. In other words, they wanted to reverse the entire quote-unquote big, beautiful bill, which I am not a fan of omnibus bills, but they did it. They did cut things out, which I do appreciate. There's some things in there that I really like, things I didn't like. But the Democrats are refusing to reopen the government. And one of the things that the Democrats wanted was health care for illegal aliens. And I'm sorry, I don't want health care for illegal aliens. I want deportations for illegal aliens. And now the Democrats seem to be backing off, and I really thought by Friday they were going to give in and just reopen the government. But I blame the Democrats for this.
Well, I mean, yes, I do agree that they are not meeting anywhere near the middle, and they're stomping their feet and being petulant little children about it. But at some point, you do have to reopen no matter what. And sometimes, how's that statement go? You know, a compromise is the definition of nobody got what they wanted.
Well, what's interesting is the Democrats now, there seem to be I think it was 14 Democrats sneaking around Schumer's back and going to the Republicans saying, look, we'll be willing to vote to open the government up next week if you promise that we can look at the Obamacare subsidies. And there's already enough Republicans saying, yeah, if you open up the government, we'll be willing to talk about that.
Yeah.
So the Democrats should just reopen the government, get things moving again, and then we could talk about it. Then we could take the time that is necessary to negotiate it. But here's the big thing. Have you really noticed any difference in government services or anything? Has it affected your life at all?
That is actually one of the things that it's kind of a guilty thought, I guess, that I have is I don't feel any problem of it. Now, to be fair, I spent some time at a not forestry, national park campground with my scout troop. And it was interesting because I know it was one of the more popular ones. So they were not taking their fees, but they were servicing the park. And actually, I think, to be honest, this year, I saw more park rangers policing and paying attention than in previous years. I know traffic control is an issue right now. I'm not flying, so I don't care. But to people who are flying, I know that's a big issue. I think I saw something like, it was like 160 some thousand or 260 some thousand people that are going to be affected in the next few days because of traffic control being shut down, essentially. So there are problems, but you're right. Me buried in my little cell of a room, working my butt off every day for the next few weeks. I haven't noticed. A shutdown.
Which park was this?
Technically, it was Lake Mead in Nevada.
Okay, because I just looked it up. Some park rangers are paid by California. So they'd be paid. Some park rangers are paid by the federal government. They would not be paid.
This was definitely federal government.
This was federal.
Definitely. Okay. From what I understand, they're still working. They have the choice to still work. If you live on park land, like Lake Mead probably does, like Yosemite, these large parks that have that kind of infrastructure, those guys are still going to work. And I had heard rumor, and I know this has happened in previous years. I don't know about this year, so it's all rumor as far as this year goes, that there are banks that offer basically a loan, a zero interest loan as far as the person is concerned. And as long as you don't quit your job and you stay through the shutdown, the money comes in from the government and it's all fine.
Yeah, there's been bank loans before, and what happens is as soon as the back pay comes in, you just repay the loan. It happens automatically, and they're very low interest rates. I think it's like 1%, 2%, 3%. I can't be 100% sure. But going to what you were saying about the air traffic controllers, yeah, that's going to start affecting people.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's safety. And I really think the Democrats need to turn around and reopen the government for that. As far as anything else, I haven't really been affected at all. I have seen people getting upset about their EBT cards, but here's the thing, and I don't want to sound heartless and cruel, but go get a job. If you're relying on the government to hand you money, what the government giveth, the government can taketh away.
Yeah, no, EBT, I mean, it's a sore subject in my book. I have been to the point where there is no money in the bank account. There is no nothing. There's the house is in foreclosure. It's all there, and I still didn't file for EBT.
Well, see, when we were going through a tough time years ago, we were struggling for a good 8-9 months, and finally I said, okay, fine, we will take some EBT. And only because we had kids, we had a kid, we weren't having a second kid because we were in these financial straits. And so we had a kid, and I accepted the EBT for that, but I got a job as soon as I could at any amount because I wanted off EBT. For me, it was an embarrassment. And EBT is not there to be a lifestyle. It's there for emergencies. You need 3 months, 6 months help. If you're on it as a lifestyle, I'm sorry. I'm working really hard to buy your groceries through EBT. I'm sorry. No.
It's not even groceries anymore. I was just reading, I was at a fast food place, and I was just reading, apparently in socialist California, that as long as they meet some sort of healthy requirement, you get to use the fast food for your EBT. And I was like, I got to research that a little more. I don't know much about it. I just literally hours ago saw that sign. But the interesting thing is, why are we proud of it? I remember food stamps. In fact, I still call it food stamps. And it was one of those things where it was like, you didn't want to be the person in line that was pulling out the actual stamps. Or in our state, we had something called WIC, Women, Infants, and Children, I think it's called. And you actually got vouchers, checks that showed, 2 gallons of milk, a pound of cheese, whatever. And, it was kind of a social stigma of, it's not that we think down on you because you have it. It's because it's an idea of, hey, you want to get off this. And it seems now it's almost a point of pride to be on it. The card looks like a Wells Fargo card. It's, you see people swipe it. It's like they're proud to have it. And I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the old guy, and that's why I feel that way. But it's like I never wanted to ever take a handout. I never wanted to be that guy that said I needed something.
I totally agree. Now let me show you something else. Now let me pull this up. All right, Ted Cruz. This is from Ted Cruz. So you have to take it. Okay, maybe it's biased or whatever. But in 2023. 48% of households headed by illegal immigrants receive food-related welfare benefits. 17% of illegal immigrant households use SNAP. Of households headed by illegal immigrants, it's estimated that 59% use one or more welfare programs: cash, food assistance, Medicaid, or housing. That, if that turns out to be true, that would drive me nuts. Well, because I'm not working hard to give some illegal alien money. I mean, you take care of Americans first. If that is true, we could literally double what we're giving Americans, cut off the illegal aliens, and still save money, if this is true.
Well, what's funny is in 2008, I think it was, the year Obama became in office. I think it was 2008. Is that right?
2008, yeah.
Glenn Miller, was a comedian and a political commentator. He made a statement that literal week that Obama had taken office, and I'm sorry, I had won the election.
I think by the way, just jump in.
Yeah.
I think you're talking Dennis Miller.
No? Gosh, comedian. I can't think of it.
Yeah, Dennis Miller. He was the comedian, sarcastic. I believe he's kind of conservative.
He was dropped out now.
Saturday Night Live. I think he's dead now.
No. But anyway, he made a statement on his, I think it was a podcast. He made a statement of, if you're working hard at, 40, 50 hours a week, and you're only making about $45,000 a year, he said he encouraged you to quit your job under the Obama umbrella because there was $44,000 worth of benefits
that you
could get. And if you were working your ass off and working 40, 50 hours a week, and you were being an absentee dad in that sense because you're working so hard to try and keep track on this, or an absentee mom, then you should quit your job and spend time with your kids and do all that. And I think a lot of people took his advice. And I don't know what to think of it. I really have a hard time wrapping my head around it as the guy who literally had 2 and 3 jobs in high school. And one of the jobs was really to help the family.
Well, let's talk about the important thing. I owe Dennis Miller an apology.
Dennis Miller, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. It was Dennis Miller.
He is alive. He is alive. He is not dead.
It was Dennis Miller. I am so sorry.
No, that's who I said it was. And you said no.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It is Dennis Miller.
Yes, it was Dennis Miller. Now that you said it, yeah.
And he is alive. Well, here's the other thing. The Democrats, going back to the topic, they really want Obamacare to be funded. And I'm sorry, Obamacare turned out to be such a disaster. There were states with 3 or 4 places you could get insurance, and now they're down to 1. There were places that had 8 or 9 or 10, and now they're down to 3 or 4.
Well,
and it was supposed to be cheaper. You were supposed to save, what was it, $2,500, $2,800 a family for a family of 4, and it ended up costing $2,500 more, not less, it ended up costing more. And anybody who understood economics knew that you were not going to be able to get health care for less if you were insuring more people.
Well,
it has been a disaster. They need to get rid of it and go back to what they were doing before. Because even with all the faults of that, at least you could get some choices in healthcare.
well, let's go back to pre-2008. You could get health care. I know. Everybody didn't know that. Except for the people who needed it. They knew they could get health care. They could get health care through Medicaid.
Yeah.
All we had to do was revamp Medicaid a little bit and go, hey, you know what? Let's expand it. Let's work on this. And we could have had this actual working Obamacare system where if you didn't have health care in your job, if you didn't have these issues, you could get health care. And that was fine. And to be honest, I knew tons of people who were on, in our state, they called it Medi-Cal. Medi-Cal was basically Medicaid, but California took it over and used it, and I'm sure scraped some money off the top. But at the end of the day, they had it. And it really frustrates me that we had to create this federal healthcare system to patch a hole that really didn't exist.
Well, what really gets me is healthcare is one of the most regulated industries out there. It's highly regulated, which means added cost.
Yes.
You know, there were so many things that you could have done before having 1/6 of the economy basically being taken over by the government. And you could have said, look, we're going to limit lawsuits. You could have said, we're going to have two different systems, one where you can sue and one where you're going to get a cheaper cost for your health care, but you're not allowed to sue, or there's limits on lawsuits.
Hold on.
You could have done so many things to bring down the cost of health care besides taking it over.
The limits on lawsuits. Almost every other country that has some sort of standardized healthcare has a law that says you cannot file frivolous lawsuits. Guess what? The United States doesn't have that.
And it costs money. Every time somebody sues, where do you think they're getting the money? From your premiums.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that always frustrates the heck out of me. Healthcare is one of those things where, yes, you need it. Yes, you do. I mean, trust me, I've worked in an industry most of my life that requires you to have some sort of health care, because when you cut your finger off, you need a doctor immediately, and you probably don't have the money for it. So you have to have some sort of health care. But the interesting thing is, I don't think people realize what Obamacare did to their actual money. They don't understand that. First things first. If you get subsidized healthcare, and most states offer this, there are a few states that you have to go to the exchange through the federal government, but California, which is where we're at, requires you to go through their exchange. And their exchange is great about saying, oh, we'll subsidize your healthcare down to $1. I had a coworker, she was older, and I helped her work through the problem, and she was able to subsidize her healthcare through the exchange, and that was her choice. I just helped her navigate the paperwork for it. I wasn't thrilled about it, but hey, at the end of the day, you got to save your money too. Apologies to Dennis Miller here, but if I'm not mistaken, one of the things Dennis Miller talked about was the fact that our money is being taken, and you might as well use some of that money to get it back. And here's the deal. I don't think people realize that that subsidized healthcare actually tacks on to if you own property. So if you rent and you're going for subsidized healthcare, it doesn't matter. They won't take any of your money. But they have an option, and you sign away this option. I'm not sure if it's being used yet or not, but I guarantee it will be eventually. If you own property and you get subsidized healthcare through the exchange in California, they put a lien on your property.
You know, I had forgotten about that. I remember there was talk about that.
No. There's no talk. It is absolutely true. Trust me, my coworker, I helped fill out the paperwork for. I read all of it.
And it's there.
It is absolutely
because I know originally there was talk about that. The other thing that goes with healthcare, and I know this for a fact, because both my parents ended up in healthcare. My dad was a lawyer, but he went back to healthcare. and he ran labs, he owned labs, he worked in labs, and doctors will order $800 worth of tests when you really need 80 to $100 of tests. But because the society is so litigious, they would order tons of tests just in case there's 1 in a billion chance you might have this really odd thing, and they don't catch it.
Yep.
And I get it, because, if it's you who has that 1 in a billion disease, great. But that's costing money because they do these $800, $1,000 worth of tests for everybody.
Yeah.
And so, look, one of the things about life is it's not perfect, but we expect it to be. And that's part of what's running up the bill. But this stuff costs.
But the other thing is people don't realize where they're actually being hurt also in healthcare. You have to claim your healthcare now as income. That didn't used to be the case before 2008.
Well,
now you claim it as income, which means that $12,000, $15,000, $20,000 that your healthcare is costing, that your employer pays, that you don't pay, you get to pay tax on that money. And it affects your adjusted income. It affects your tax bracket. So they made a ton of money on the taxes by you having healthcare. It's now not a cost of living.
Well, you know what else we need to have? We need to be healthy. And one of the ways you could be healthy is to eat well. And what's one of the best things you can eat?
Peaches.
Not only peaches. What are the best peaches? Conservative peaches. And we have a brand new ad from our great sponsor, Conservative Peaches. Here it is.
There's a lot going on in the world today, but sometimes it's good to take a few minutes to enjoy the little things in life. Specifically, our peaches here at Conservative Peaches. A banana can't be a star fruit no matter how much you wish it were. And our peaches? Well, they can't be anything but peaches. Simple, right? But here's where things get a little strange. There's another company out there, our competitor Liberal Strawberries. They're trying to sell their strawberries, but they're calling them boysenberries. Now look, strawberries are fantastic and boysenberries are great too. But you can't just change the label and expect the fruit inside to change with it. Rabbi Shmuley doesn't believe a peach can be a coconut, and Pastor Rick has never seen a cherry be a watermelon. That's just common sense. And now here's the latest development. Liberal Strawberries is planning a hostile takeover of our company. They want to start selling our beautiful, perfect peaches as peanuts. That's just plain nuts, or legumes in this case. Peaches are peaches, and we won't let anyone tell us otherwise. And you know what else is real? Teachers in train stations. We here at Conservative Peaches appreciate that Jeremy and Seth know who they are, and they aren't trying to be anything except themselves. So we here at Conservative Peaches fully endorse teachers in train stations and appreciate the guys for being just who they are. Two guys just sharing their thoughts. Conservative Peaches is not a real company, and therefore this can't be a real endorsement. But we love that they are sounding so good with the new equipment we bought them. So reach down and hit the like and subscribe button. Give them a comment or two. And then go out and buy yourself a nice, big, plump, fresh, conservative peach. Because liberal strawberries are just plain crazy. And for now, we're going back to picking peaches and listening to more teachers in train stations.
And with that, we'll see you at the next stop.